I've definitely had experiences where it's like, teachers could care less about what's going on.
You know what, that's a huge misconception, because I know, like, I'll talk to the students, and they'll go, oh, Mrs. Such and Such, she hates my guts. I'm like, she doesn't, she speaks highly of you.
Hi, I'm Douglas. I'm an English teacher. Specifically, I teach American literature and poetry, and I'm also a poet.
Hi, I'm Chris, and I recently graduated high school.
I'm Ainsley, and I have been teaching for 8 years, and I teach math.
I'm Miranda. I'm a rising senior, and I'm looking forward to the college process.
My name's Arthur. I teach algebra in Santa Monica.
My name is Joelle. I'm a rising senior in high school, and I founded an organization that focuses on educating teens on sexual harassment and assault that's not in their health class.
It feels like scores are more important than learning.
Yeah.
I definitely think as a math teacher, data is like extremely important. And I know that when I was teaching in the charter system, it was to the point that I think as teachers, we'd almost be like pitted against each other based on like how successful our classes were. And I started to realize that if I didn't care about the students' learning and their well-being, it didn't matter what they scored, because it was kind of like the score wasn't always representative of what the student knew.
Was it scores or sports?
Scores.
Scores, okay. I thought it was sports, I'm sorry.
Everyone is a human. You can't just put a number to that person. It just doesn't make sense.
It's amazing because I'm one of those kids with like test anxiety. I can understand the topic completely, but when it comes time to take the test, it's gone. It's so hard to be like, I understand this, like what's wrong with me? Am I stupid? Like, why don't I get this? Like I get this one time a day, but then when the other comes around, it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, Quizlet saved my life. I'm not gonna lie, it saved my life. I used Quizlet, I used Khan Academy when I was stressed out, when I was feeling as if I was gonna break down. I used it. It was a good resource for me.
This year I took the CASP. I don't know if you guys are
Yeah,
familiar with
the
that.
Smarter Balance
It was the
test.
stupidest thing I've ever taken. I'm sorry. And so not only was it like, it was like Microsoft like 2008, like mine stopped in the middle, and I was just saying like they poured so much time and money into this test that isn't indicative of anything at the end of the day. They're doing SAT, ACT, AP every year, and it's just bombarded on them. And it's not even representative success, because how many kids are spending thousands and thousands of dollars on prep for that, right? And not everyone has a privilege to afford that.
I feel like we feel the same way in regards to like a lot of the statewide tests, and the schools have to stay accredited, so they have to have these certain scores and the rankings and things like that. I also believe that they don't pay a lot of attention to the achievement gap. And we have the achievement gap consists of mostly African Americans, students with special needs. They're focusing on these different tests to make sure we have these scores, but not putting the resources in place to make sure those students are successful as well, so they can contribute to those scores.
I work harder than people think.
I had to really think about that.
I know, same.
I was like, I pretty much worked my ass off for all my senior year, and I really wish that my teachers would actually see that when I had an assignment turned in, I would do it right away.
I agree with that. I think like it's not visible the amount of work that goes on behind it. Like if I would like maybe complain, talk about workload, what I had to do, it would be like the response from my parents. Like although they're very understanding, it's like I came to this country with like this amount of money, like I worked 3 jobs, and I understand that, but we also need to understand that the college admissions process has changed dramatically, right? Like the choices you make at age like 13 are indicative of what happens where you go.
For me, like on a daily basis or school life, my day consists of after school, once school is out, I do home instruction for the district for kids who can't make it to school. I also have like a private tutoring service. Then I have a 6-year-old and a 3-month-year-old. So then I'm up to like, 12, 1 in the morning, just returning emails, talking to parents. And when parents call, they want to talk, it's like an hour conversation. So everyone works so hard. And people, they don't see, they see the fruits of it, but they don't see all the hard work that you put into it,
I've been using social media to kind of interact with my students. So I have like Instagram live tutoring for kids who can't do tutoring after school. But I never realized that opened a whole door of like interactions and like them reaching out to me that is much harder than the basic just them coming after school and then they go home. I'm literally like in my PJs and tutoring them math over Instagram live. I sensed that a lot of my teachers were just there to teach, and I didn't want to be that teacher, and I think I've put a lot of pressure on myself to be different, but that's definitely increased my workload, even though my kids don't see that.
Hi.
Hi.
I work hard too. So our department as an English teacher is notorious for how much we do. So I think people are always trying to take things off of my plate. And I swear, every call I get from a parent or email, they always preface it with, I know you're busy, but do you mind? And I think I'm just very visible about how much I'm running around and whatnot. And so they really understand.
This is like the first time that I'm actually hearing like the teacher side. Like I couldn't like fully understand what it'd be like to be on call 24/7. Like that's insane to even think about.
It's hard when you're in school and that's all you know, that cyclical, like every day, this is what you're gonna do. It's so hard to kind of like step back to like realize that sometimes this is unhealthy. Like tutoring kids on Instagram Live seems like a super cool like thing. Like none of my teachers would do that, and I promise you that. But at the same time, it's kind of like, I wonder what that's like for you being kind of on call 24/7.
And invading student space. Sometimes not saying that you do that. I'm like, oh, I'm thinking about doing some cool thing on Snapchat. My son was like, no, let your students alone. Stay out of it.
Yeah.
Teachers should care about more than academics.
I really agree with that. I think something that I've come to learn is that when I'm working with students, mental health is a huge thing that I think as teachers we have to take into consideration, especially because I see it more prevalent, like the struggles. You know, success is such a relative term, and we have to understand it together and collectively. It's not just like an A, a B, a grade doesn't determine that. So I totally agree with that.
The first time I actually got to see a therapist, and I think it's really important to provide these resources in schools, especially for students of color, where this topic like mental health is a taboo in homes. Like the first time I saw a therapist was because my English teacher referred me to one, and I was able to see it on campus. But that's because I had the privilege of having one in my school in the first place.
I've definitely had experiences where it's like, teachers could care less about what's going on. They don't like to acknowledge the fact that I'm taking 6 other high-level classes, and those all come with 2 to 3 hours of homework a night.
You know what, that's a huge misconception, because I know like a bunch of teachers, they're phenomenal, and they like really care about the students, but I'll talk to the students, and they'll go, oh, Mrs. Such and Such, you know, she hates my guts. I'm like, she doesn't, she speaks highly of you, but Mrs. Such and Such just gives tons of work for some reason, you know?
It's not necessarily about the amount of work, but it's also like that teacher-student relationship that you were talking about is, for me, or at least in my own experiences, it's been such a strong divide. I think the harsh reality is, for some people it's a job and it's your tenure and it's this job security and like your benefits and all of these other things put together, and at the same time, oh my God, this sounds corny, but like students are people too, and it's, and like
real.
we have our own struggles.
I felt like just plain out like no one cared about me. My senior year was just like the most stressful thing in my entire life, because I would say like I was up to like 2 a.m. trying to get assignments done and study for tests and just trying to pass, because I would say like the last 2 months of my senior year, I genuinely thought that I wasn't gonna graduate. And I didn't know how I was gonna tell my parents that their youngest kid, their baby, is not gonna graduate high school, because I know it would break their hearts. I dealt with a lot of anxiety only because teachers would stack up assignments after assignments after assignments, and you know you would think that they would realize that, like you said, we're people, we have lives, like we deal with a lot of personal stuff on a daily basis.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, because I came up the same way. You know, I didn't have I got home and it was more like, oh, we had to go pump gas to get food, to put food in the refrigerator and things like that. So I'm trying to do my homework on the bus, before I even make it home. So it was that whole sense as well that school wasn't my first priority. So I try to understand that, especially students that are typically struggling, behind on assignments and things like that, I try to do stuff like modify or excuse.
I'm that teacher though, like I'm real big on making sure they all have their materials. My mother worked at my school so I could go there, so I'm real big on your parents put in so much, so the least you can do is just come in prepared, right? So this kid was like, he didn't have his stuff, so he wanted to talk to me outside, and I was just going in on him. You know the rules, this. He's like, Mr. Brown, my father died yesterday. I'm here because I can't be at home, but I wanted to tell you that I didn't have my stuff. And we both just broke down. And it just broke me because it's like, here I am trying to tell him what's important for my class. And the only reason why he was there because of how he felt about me. And he knew he would feel good in my class, way better than being at home. And it just taught me so much.
Detention is not an effective form of punishment.
I'm trying to think of a joke about the Breakfast Club or something.
I remember as a student numerous times being in detention, and I would get out of detention and it just feels like I just lost. I could have been in the classroom learning. I think it takes the student away from the learning. At our school, we don't even do the detention anymore. We have like circles and things like that, so if there is a problem, we'll
Like a restorative circle?
Restorative justice, yeah. We'll kind of like talk the problems out, what we can do next time.
To make a long story short, I was caught cheating on tests. She straight up just called me out in front of the whole class, and I was so embarrassed, but I feel like the more efficient way she should have done it is just after class, she should have just been like, hey, I saw what you did, what you did was wrong, you're gonna get points taken away from your grade. I just want to understand why you did it. She kicked me out of class like immediately. I went from honors chemistry to regular chemistry. So.
She kicked you out of the class as like a whole?
Yeah,
Like
right away. Yeah, it's stupid. Yeah. I just felt like she had given up on me, and that's not something I feel like teachers should do.
What you say really matters, and it really impacts us. And hearing how you would like champion a student or make sure that they're being heard, that's super important. And I think that or at least in my experience, I've lacked teachers like that.
I work with a lot of freshmen. That they struggle with the most is avocation. I'll go, why you didn't talk to your teacher about this grade? They're scared. Like she's mean. Or I always tell kids at the beginning of the school year, your parents trusted me enough to drop you off here for 7 hours. So you're just like my kid. I got to treat you like my kid. So our relationship is important.
I love the fact that you have like a one-on-one relationship with your students, with you two. I thank you guys for being the teachers who you are.
It helps me reflect on what I've done this year and my relationship with my students. And usually I only get to do that in my head, so to be able to talk to sharp students, caring students who really care about, like you said, the learning environment has really helped.
Hearing your guys' perspective, moving forward, I have a little bit more insight as to how to interact with students, and I really appreciate it. And also hearing the things that you guys said, I'm really impressed with you guys. So thank you for sharing. Seriously, very well spoken. So yeah, thank you.
Nice meeting
you.
You're
an amazing teacher. I wish you were mine. Oh my God.
Congratulations. Thank you. You're fantastic.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching the episode.
Follow us on Instagram. That's where we have a lot of behind the scenes, and that's where we can submit prompts and ideas for episodes.
Yeah.
And stay tuned, we got more episodes for you.
Thanks guys.